And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, it wasn't just Goat Puppet Guy that the LA City Council blocked from public comment.
Did we call Goat Puppet?
They also blocked our buddy 3-inch Shrimp under a different name.
Speaker, which name did you sign up under?
My name is Mia Khalifa.
I don't think that's on his birth certificate.
I think that's the name of a porn star.
Speaker, which name did you sign up under?
My name is Mia Khalifa.
Okay, hold on. Did we call that name as well?
That name was not called, but it is in the queue.
Okay, again, that name wasn't called, so you need to wait until the names are called. We use a random generator to determine the order in which people speak. Are there any additional names?
No, that concludes public comment.
So they didn't even call on Mia Khalifa or Goat Puppet.
It sounds like it's fixed.
Did we call Goat Puppet?
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. All right, so at some point in the last few days, my phone starts blowing up. People sending me tweets and text messages and every form of communication that you can think of that's not a carrier pigeon, all with the same message. Ann Coulter is back on the Trump train. And I said to myself, okay, if I'm getting it from 18 different sources, all on a Saturday, it has to be true. And I thought, well, why not go right to the source? It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program, who you can get online at anncoulter.com. You can also subscribe to her Substack at anncoulter.substack.com, where she puts up great videos. I like the ones with Mickey Kaus the best whenever she and Mickey have a conversation. You can also follow her on X at Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, welcome.
Good to be here, John Phillips. Thanks for reminding me. I should give Mickey a call.
Yes, you need to have him back on if it's been a while.
Yes.
All right.
May I insult your sources?
Okay. Go right ahead.
This is exhausting. It's excruciating. I've waited 30 seconds. Hope your sources aren't your friends, because I've met your friends and I like them. Your sources are people who voted for Trump because, I don't know, they saw him on The Apprentice may not be the beating heart of MAGA. I wrote Adios America. He read it. It's about immigration, especially the enthusiasm for child rape in Latin America, which, oh my gosh, have we been seeing a lot of. And, of course, building the wall. For those of you who weren't in a coma in 2016, every single rally, build the wall, build the wall. His one signature promise, he got zero money from Wall Street. I think Hillary got 90%. And, independent candidates got like 7%. He was the only Republican candidate on the stage or in my lifetime to promise to end the utterly unfair carried interest loophole. Anchor babies were going to end day one. Immigrants, illegals were going to be deported so fast it would make your head spin. And then he got elected and brought in Jared Kushner and Gary Cohn, never ended the carried interest loophole, turned his presidency over to Wall Street, didn't end NAFTA, by the way. That's what I screamed about him at him standing at the Resolute desk a few months into his presidency, did not end anchor babies, did not deport illegal immigrants, did not get a wall, did not even attempt to get a wall. Weird. When he didn't keep his promises, I didn't like it. And when he does keep his promises, I do like it. I mean, the sort of who would like Trump, apart from what he is saying, having nothing to do with policy. They just like the cut of his jib. That is someone who is, I guess we need stupid people too. The Democrats can't have them all. But your sources are morons.
All right. Well, now that we've cleared that up, let's talk about the guy in El Salvador, because this is one that I just can't figure out why the Democrats are trying to turn him in to the kid that fell in the well. You're talking about someone that is, they talk about these 80-20 issues where 80% of the people are on one side, 20% on the other. I would be shocked if this one's 80-20 and not 90-10. because this guy is exactly the type of person who shouldn't be here. He's here illegally, first of all, and I love that that's treated as if it's an irrelevant fact that's not even worth mentioning. But you look at what's gone on with him, where there have been allegations of spousal abuse, allegations of human trafficking, allegations of being part of a criminal gang, and you say, well, he was never convicted of any of these things, and then you go back and you read what happened, and all of the local authorities were saying, oh yeah, he did all of these things, but these left-wing prosecutors had directives where they knew that they weren't supposed to prosecute people that included certain triggers that would cause them to get deported, because they knew that the powers that be did not want that to happen. So people like this guy either get undercharged or the charges are dropped altogether, so you don't have the paper trail that would have triggered a deportation. And Trump, and explain to me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an attorney, but my basic understanding is basically said, doesn't matter, you got to go home, adios. Is that basically what happened here?
Yes, and this is why Trump was a blithering idiot not to keep his promises term one. You can never lose on immigration. If you are deporting or keeping out illegal immigrants, criminal immigrants, you can never, ever lose. I learned this when I was working for the Senate Judiciary Committee back in, 1996, and I accidentally was working for an open borders senator, Republican. Nobody knew at the time. Obviously ended up being one term. Why? Because he was on the wrong side of immigration. But I wrote all these ferocious provisions into the immigration bill. You remember, I think that was part of the terrorism bill we passed in the wake of Oklahoma City. So we jammed in all kinds of great criminal law reforms, and in my case, immigration law reforms, into the bill. And, it's hard to get through any laws that will hold criminals accountable as long as Democrats are given a vote. But all of my criminal alien provisions were supported by about half the Democrats. Even my senator had to vote for them. I'm a Republican. 100% of the Republicans, Orrin Hatch thanked me. Di-Fi thanked me. You're a wonderful ex-senator. I think there were only about three. Senator Cole voted for it. There were a whole handful of Democrats. Why? They can't vote in favor of guests to our country who are committing crimes. And as Trump is, the media is going absolutely mental over what Trump is doing. More than half of Republicans and conservatives, I have noticed, are saying, oh, we love due process. They need due process. I really want Trump to just keep flying them out of the country, just keep flying them out of the country, as he's doing this with the media, including the conservative media, blowing up and saying he's defying court orders, it's shocking, constitutional crisis, blah, 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 blah. His approval rating has gone up 7 points on immigration. You can never, ever be too tough on immigration. And Democrats are, I think, making utter fools of themselves and definitely hurting them with the voters. I'd also point out another advantage of the immigration issue. 100% winner. 100% winner. Any issue, anything involved. Build the wall. End anchor babies. It's a winner. It's a winner. It's always a winner. It's also distracting from the tariffs kind of rocked the stock markets. The war in Ukraine has not been successfully concluded. I like him going after the universities. That's probably the second most popular thing he's doing. But there are some free speech, some legitimate free speech concerns with that. As you will hear every 6 minutes on MSNBC, apparently egg prices have not magically dropped right away. We don't have a budget that's going to cut spending at all. If he weren't deporting these criminal Venezuelans, they'd be talking about all of that stuff. Keep them distracted with your most popular issue. You should always be talking about your popular issues. I wouldn't think a politician would need to be told that. That guy, what's his name, that great pollster for the Democrats. Anyway, he's always telling them, talk about your popular issues. Don't talk about your unpopular issues. And it seems like I'm always telling the Republicans that. I would think that would come naturally to a politician. But no, and you may recall, term one, we were always having to defend Trump from like stupid tweets. No, please put me in the position of defending you for deporting gangsters, terrorists, criminals, Trey de Aragua members, Venezuelans, the 10 million really physically repulsive and not particularly competent or revenue-producing immigrants that Biden hauled in over the last 4 years. He can't lose with that. He's just got to keep the planes flying and not be intimidated.
What do you make of these rules that are being imposed in terms of the debate, where they're saying now, and by they I mean the mainstream media primarily and the Democrats, that in the case of this one El Salvadorian guy, that the material facts involved in the case don't matter, that this is entirely a process issue. And if you bring up the material facts, those are out of bounds. And there was one interview, I don't know if you saw it, where the wife was on with Michael Strahan on Good Morning America.
Everybody saw that.
And he was asking her if the guy beat her up. And she just sat there frozen, like the feed, like the internet went down or something. And she didn't answer the question. And then he comes back and he apologizes for asking the question and then says, well, we'll just move on from there. That's wild to me.
I will give him credit for allowing that full 60 seconds of silence. that really said it all. No, you will never see so much lying in the media on both sides as on immigration, and as we now know, all of that USAID money. I knew we were paying for it. All of these immigration attorneys, all of the. I listed on one page. I couldn't even get them all listed of Adios America, the open borders groups, just dumping multiple millions of dollars on dragging the third world into this country and making sure they stay here. In general, yes, people get due process. But I think conservatives are really being idiots, foolhardy, short-sighted, and irrelevant, talking about any additional process that is needed. Just get them out of the country. Let Catholic Charities, Immigration Services, let them go service them in El Salvador.
What do you do about the quality of judges that now sit on the bench? Because you talk to people who currently work in that world on a day-to-day basis, people who are assistant U.S. attorneys, people who work in the court system one degree or another. And they say, okay, when Obama was in and appointing judges, it was bad, but it was nothing like what Biden did these last 4 years. And he appointed a bunch of activist judges who aren't particularly familiar with the law. So you have people who are there with an agenda and aren't what you would regard as experts when it comes to the law. And that's a bad combination. And that's basically what he filled all the vacancies with when he was president. And clearly they have an agenda when it comes to gumming up what Trump wants to do with immigration and deportations and all of those sorts of things. How do you get around that?
Well, I think Trump is doing it, and I would encourage him to keep doing it. This isn't a new thought I've had. I've written about it for some years. The idea that the courts, even the Supreme Court, much less some puny little district court, are superior to the President of the United States, who holds all of the executive power in this one man's hands. This is the way the Constitution works. For three branches of government, judiciary, legislative, executive. Judiciary is divided among, 1,000 courts. Some of them are teeny tiny little irrelevant courts like district courts, and even going up to the Supreme Court. And then you have Congress, and then you have the presidency. No, you can't have a district court. You can't have the Supreme Court exercising the exclusive powers of the president, and the president does have exclusive power over immigration. So this idea that the president is doing something wrong by defying a court order. No, the courts are doing something wrong by defying the plenary powers of the presidency. And of course Trump should continue to be president. And just because some little pipsqueak judge says, no, I'm president, you can't be president. No, he should just keep exercising the powers of the presidency. I also like one other thing he is doing, and that is to keep saying, Oh, no, absolutely. I am totally obeying every court order. No, you can't disobey a court order and then just keep putting them on planes and flying them to El Salvador.
Okay, last question before you go. A lot of cities, a lot of states are broke right now. The city of Los Angeles has a budget hole of $1 billion. Oakland may go bankrupt. That's something that's not unique to those two. It's something that's going on in big cities that have been mismanaged by one-party rule for decades. Now that the Trump administration is saying if you are a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state, no more money for you, that means these budgets are going to go from being problematic to being catastrophic. What do you think these cities are going to do when he starts to lean on him with the power of the purse?
Man, I love that. It just fills me with joy. Yes, of course he should withdraw funding from sanctuary cities. Of course they're not allowed to. You know, as I pointed out before, I don't know, you'll remember, I think maybe some of your younger readers will have to, or listeners will have to look it up. But during, I think this may have been before Trump's first term, when Chris Kobach wrote that SB 10, I think it was, for Arizona, which was denounced right and left all over as the Papers, Please law in Arizona was going Nazi, because if a law enforcement agent was pulling over someone or stopping someone for some other reason, having probable cause, and then had reason to believe that the person he'd stopped or pulled over was an illegal immigrant, he was allowed to hold the illegal immigrant. And the world blew up over this. Goes to the Supreme Court. You know, a year later, Supreme Court says, no, of course that is legal. But some of the other provisions of the law, basically just Arizona enforcing the federal law that, it was under Obama, that Obama was refusing to enforce. And the Supreme Court, among many other examples of this, said, no, Arizona can't merely follow written federal law if the president has decided not to follow written federal law on immigration. That's how extensive the president's powers on immigration are. So, yeah, he's just, of course he should be withdrawing money from sanctuary cities. It's unbelievable. I mean, can you imagine red state saying we're a sanctuary city from federal taxes?
Yeah, or the EPA. They'd come down on them like a ton of bricks.
Right. EPA, OSHA, and sorry, I started to giggle when you mentioned the trouble that the city of Oakland is in, because I just saw on Twitter, apparently the new mayor of Oakland, Barbara Lee, I think technically or avowedly a full-fledged communist. She was one who was, enthusiastically visiting Fidel Castro. In any event, she apparently believes and intends to raise the minimum wage of Oakland to $50 an hour. 50. And I was just reminded once again, if you really want to get your city together, have things run smoothly, trains run on time, get your act together, you totally want to get a progressive black woman as your mayor.
All right. Well, an 80-year-old one at that. Well, I'm late for a break. I got to run. Ann Coulter, thanks so much for stopping by. Ann Coulter, you can follow her on X at Ann Coulter and read her online at anncoulter.com. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to listen to the podcast, that's easy to do.
Especially if you want to hear what I had to bleep from Ann Coulter. Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts.
And right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And the first edition takes us to Beverly Grove.
Beverly Grove, where the Beverly Center is. It's not actually Beverly Hills, and you can tell because the crime's way higher. And there's been a whole bunch of home invasion, burglaries, and robberies happening in the neighborhoods, and the neighbors are fed up. For more, here is Fox 11 News.
The residents we spoke with say they have become ongoing targets for criminals, and they no longer feel safe in their own homes.
Johnny, you and I have a mutual friend that lives in that area, and I bet he's super pissed about this.
Who is that?
Drew.
Oh, yes. Oh, no, I can verify that.
They're usually looking for money, gold, cash, safes, and designer clothing and designer bags.
Security footage shows mass.
See? What you should do is you shouldn't have anything fancy. That's your own fault.
Yes, because people move to Hollywood from all over the globe so they can dress frumpy and drive in crappy cars.
It was only a couple of years ago, the actual policy from then LAPD Chief Michael Moore was, don't go out wearing fancy jewelry, don't drive fancy cars, you will be a target.
Oh, yes. Show up to all the hot restaurants in Hollywood dressed like a homeless person.
Security footage shows masked men entering homes in the upscale neighborhood of Beverly Grove. They ransack the houses for any high-end items they can find. In this case, they're dragging a large safe.
I wonder if that's going to end up on the side of the freeway near all of those ATMs.
Oh, yeah. The dumping ground for used up ATMs and safes is under the 118 freeway right on the border of LA County and Ventura County.
It's classy.
The thought of somebody being hurt physically or killed by these men is very frightening, and that threat is very real.
Hillary Delaney was home when 3 masked intruders entered her backyard in December. She scared them away, but she says the same criminals are still at it in her neighborhood.
They never found them. We still don't have a lead detective.
But it was December.
Well, they're getting to it.
And we've seen.
Do we think these response times are going to go up or down now that Karen Bass is cutting 400 civilian officers from the LAPD?
Well, you see, she's not technically cutting the police because she's not cutting any sworn officers.
And we've seen security footage from several other neighbors with these exact same criminals continuing to try to attempt to have home invasion style robberies with other neighbors. And we're extremely concerned about.
Everyone's got their own video of the same 3 guys.
And then when you offer the video to the cops, they go, yeah, we don't need it.
About safety.
I think we feel abandoned. I think we feel just like anything else where the city has left services to go down. Police is shorthanded. The police officers are great when we meet them, but they're kind of helpless. So what? We're just out to fend for ourselves?
And that's exactly what they're doing.
Katie Yaroslawski doing a great job in that part of town, isn't she?
And I'm sure she's watching this report going, yeah, that guy understands.
And that's exactly what they're doing. Installing extra security cameras, adding window shutters, building fences, and even placing spikes on top for added protection.
I don't know. If the criminal climbs the fence and they get impaled by the spike, they might have a case.
Who wants to live in a house that looks like it's surrounded by the yard at San Quentin?
Lack of policing in the area that is motivating these burglars to do it because they know they're not going to get caught. And even if they do get caught, there's no repercussion to it.
I just had a situation where a fellow had a burglary. He was in the house. He scared the people away, so there was nothing taken. He called 911, and it took them 49 minutes to get there, and then they didn't want to write a report.
Oh, boy.
That's just the breakdown of local government at every level.
911, and it took them 49 minutes to get there, and then they didn't want to write a report. So then they, of course, say, oh, crimes are down this quarter, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, people aren't buying these numbers.
No, but that's what the mayor referenced in her State of the City address. That's what Newsom keeps talking about. That's what the newspapers keep printing. But if you actually live here, you understand it's in no way related to reality.
Now, despite what you just heard, all of the residents we spoke with are not blaming the LAPD. They say the department is understaffed.
Well, it's not their fault they're understaffed. It is the fault of a whole bunch of different things, including a whole bunch of members of the city council that voted to defund the police back in 2020. That led to the morale problem and early retirement of several officers. They're stretched very thin. And so, yeah, that's what happens. Your response times are 45 minutes. And once they get rid of all the civilian staffers and now the sworn officers have to do those jobs, the response times are only going to get worse.
Remember when they used to blame the spike in crime on COVID?
Oh, yeah. George Gascon did that one all the time. Because, once you get COVID, you lose your sense of taste and smell, and you have an insatiable desire to start smashing things.
Oh, yes. I remember that when I got COVID myself.
They did express frustration toward the mayor and city council for not making public safety a priority.
And I totally understand their frustrations, but that's another thing I would ask. In 2022, of these neighbors that have been victimized, did they vote for Katie Yaroslavsky or did they vote for Sam Yabry, who was a common sense guy?
See, this is what I don't understand. I understand that we all live in our own little bubbles where you talk to people who think like you talk to people who see the world the same way you do, and whatever opinions you have are usually verified and confirmed by those around you within your own social network. And then when there's an election that takes place and the results go in a different direction, you go, how in the hell did that happen? Everyone I know voted for the other guy, and the bad one won. I don't understand. That's one thing. But do you notice that whenever they do these stories, whenever they interview a man on the street, everyone's upset at the council. Everyone's upset at the mayor. Everyone's upset at how the budgeting is done. Everyone's upset at the quality of city services they receive. They say that they blame them by name, and yet these people all still win election and then get reelected.
It's funny how that works.
Now, I'm not alleging anything nefarious here, because I understand we live in a blue state and Los Angeles is a blue city, and Democrats tend to vote for other Democrats. But I assume that many of these people interviewed by the news are Democrats.
Well, and a lot of these races, it was Democrat on Democrat. Katie Yaroslavsky, Sam Yabry, both in the same party. Lauren Taylor and Barbara Lee, both Democrat candidates.
And people seem to understand the basics. Whenever they're interviewed in one of these stories, they're aware of their surroundings. They're aware of the condition of their city. They're aware of the condition of their state. Yet in election after election, not only can we not get any Republicans elected to anything, we can't get any normal Democrats elected to anything when it's a Democrat on Democrat race. I don't get it. Before we get to the blotter, Randy, I have a confession to make.
What's that?
I can no longer use my phone for legitimate purposes.
Why would that be?
Because I discovered these apps where I can play video poker and Ultimate X video poker, not for money, just for practice. But you can play it pretty much all day, every day, and it's draining my battery to the point to where my phone is always dying.
So you have no battery right now?
I have no battery, and all I want to do is gamble.
Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to find an outlet, plug in the phone, get it to the point where it boots back up. Then you're going to hit the green button on the bottom corner of your phone, and you're going to dial 1-800-GAMBLER.
But I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it for practice.
So you can use money later.
When I get on the cruise ship, I'll do it for money.
If you lose a certain amount of money on the cruise ship, will they upgrade you?
No, I think they just drop you off in the middle of the ocean and you have to swim to Catalina. All right, let's reopen the California crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition takes us to the IE.
In Montclair, they're stealing sneakers.
I guess they don't have shoeless Joe Jackson in Montclair.
For more, here's ABC 7 Eyewitness News in Los Angeles.
Before, a group of robbers target a store, getting away with thousands of dollars worth of merchandise.
One business says it's happened to them multiple times. And Inland Empire reporter Leticia Juarez takes us there.
This is usually the one where these are the things that end up on eBay.
Oh, yeah. No, you can absolutely tell that these are all ending up on the black market.
We have bathing aid, we have essentials,
spider merch, very expensive merchandise.
And that's exactly what a group of thieves had their eyes on. Not to buy, but to bag. On Wednesday, surveillance cameras captured a chaotic smash and grab inside Ryan Higuera's Galleria Montclair, a high-end sneaker and leisure wear boutique tucked inside the Montclair Place.
High-end leisure wear?
I think that's being generous.
A high-end sneaker and leisure wear boutique tucked inside the Montclair Place Mall.
I guess that means the track pants aren't tearaway.
I went to graduate school the town over in Claremont, and I spent some time in Montclair. I would go to the Black Angus there in the parking lot of the Montclair Plaza. I spent many happy hours there. We'll say after class. And let me tell you, in that mall, that Black Angus is the nicest thing they have.
Tucked inside the Montclair Place Mall. A crew of 9 swarmed the store in a hit that was as bold as it was sloppy, with thieves smashing, grabbing, and stumbling out the door.
Maybe they were at happy hour Black Angus, too.
They sent 2 people in, and then they see, it's working, and then the 3, and then the 4, and then the 5, and then they give them the go. All 9 of them run in. They had at least 2 or 3 getaway drivers, different vehicles each time, booked at 10 westbound.
Another angle captured on...
10 westbound, meaning they're entering L.A. County.
Well, of course. They're not coming from Riverside.
No, Montclair is technically in San Bernardino County. I think I told you this. I know someone who is a prosecutor, a deputy DA in San Bernardino County, and her jurisdiction is essentially Montclair, Upland, all of those cities right there along the L.A. County border. And when George Gascon was the DA in Los Angeles County, she said when she was reading the police reports that the crooks were always shocked that they were in San Bernardino County. They thought that they were in L.A. County. They apologized for robbing the stores in San Bernardino County and said that they thought that they were still in L.A.
Another angle captured on cell phone video shows the suspects stumbling over merchandise in their rush to escape, tripping over the very items they came to steal.
Well, we can tell these are smart criminals.
They just destroyed the whole store, and this last time we're looking at least $10,000 to $20,000 worth of damages.
And it's not like they could file that on their insurance.
Nope, can't file any claims in this state.
This isn't their first fashion heist. Higuera says it's the 3rd hit on his store in a month.
How are you supposed to stay in business?
The only thing he's going to have left to sell are socks.
And he's convinced it's the same crew every time.
This crew's out of L.A. The time before this time, they all came in with ski masks. This time, nobody came in with a ski mask.
These surveillance images...
They're getting even more brazen or even more sloppy.
Or maybe it's just getting hotter.
These surveillance images were given to the Montclair Police Department as part of the investigation. They are trying to determine if this group is connected to the previous incident. So far, no arrests have been made. And for Higuera, it's not just about stolen merchandise anymore. He and an employee were assaulted during earlier incidents. And now he's wondering how far this crew will go.
I saw something on the news this morning of a store owner who got ran over and killed for defending his merchandise. I don't want to get ran over and killed for just, trying to make an honest living selling clothes and sneakers.
But I thought these are nonviolent criminals that are just victims of poverty.
Well, if they're stealing shoes, maybe he's going to get kicked.
If you have any information on these sneaker bandits, you can contact the Montclair Police Department. Reporting in Montclair, Leticia Juarez, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
There you go. A sneaker store in Montclair got robbed 3 times within a month.
Okay, let's go back to that crazy sound that we were playing from Pamela Price, the ousted DA in Alameda County. Because her worldview and the way she ran that office was very similar to how George Gascon ran the office.
Oh, that is Pamela Price's M.O.
She called me a crime boss.
And then this week's episode was all about a very specific grievance.
She won't prosecute cases.
Okay, so not only do the crooks believe they're in the county that is a county with the Soros DA, where they know it's anything goes, But even when there's crime that takes place in counties other than Alameda, San Francisco, LA, when the bad DAs were there, how often do you see the address listed for the criminal for crimes committed in neighboring counties where the Soros DA county is the home county of the criminal? Where they all live there because they know that's a county where they're essentially giving sanctuary and they can do whatever they want and no one's going to arrest them, no one's going to bother them.
She won't prosecute cases.
And that's why we live like we do. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes for word to get out that they're gone. Because even though they were knocked out and Prop 36 passed, sometimes it takes a while for information to trickle out, especially to dummies who don't read the papers. So, this is what's going on in Montclair right now. But if crime is actually going to decrease in California, these are the places you're going to see it happen first. It's not going to happen in LA first, not going to happen in Alameda or San Francisco. It's going to happen in those areas, in counties that surround them.